Connection is fine.
I think it's there. It goes. Well, we're gonna find out if it's fine. Hey, how's it going, Champagne Sharks? We're here with Karina Moreno. She could have been anywhere on this lockdown Saturday, but she chose to be with us. So definitely, I mean, same for everybody else out there. Same thing. You could have been anywhere on this lockdown Saturday, but you chose to be with us. So, Karina, if you don't mind telling people who you are, what
Hi.
they should know about you.
Sure. So I am Karina Moreno. I am a professor of public policy. I'm from Monterrey, Mexico. And so my area of research is on government policy, especially government policy that impacts immigrants, um, and predominantly Latino immigrants.
Now, let me ask you something, right? Do you prefer when someone who's American says your name, and tries to attempt the proper accent, like Karina Moreno, or does that sound pretentious and you prefer like they use the gringo pronunciation?
This reminds me so much of this guy in JFK Airport who like, I didn't know, just a stranger said, "Hey, how do you feel when people ask for, can I have a burrito, por favor?" Like, which just like, but it's the same answer to that question and to yours that no, I like it. It's good.
Oh, okay. 'Cause I thought it was the kind of thing where if you're not Latino yourself, it looks pretentious, like to or overly ingratiating. For someone to do that. So I just wanted to make
No,
sure.
we are fans. I mean, I remember doing research in New York City when Bloomberg was doing his press conferences in Spanish, and like, yeah, no, Latino people were like, he that is a bajillion-dollar man, and he's like trying to speak this language to communicate with us. So
No, see,
even
but
from
that's
even from
different
Bloomberg,
because that's someone doing the whole language. So that's extra impressive and whatever. I'm talking about someone just speaking straight English, but just on the Spanish words,
yeah,
um, trying to. That's something that I wasn't sure about. No, if you're learning someone's whole language, that is above and beyond the Call of Duty. I can't see anybody getting upset about that.
no, but I mean, well, did you ever hear his Spanish? Like, that's why I'm
Oh,
like,
was it
and
pretty? Was it pretty bad?
yeah,
You're saying it like he's here. You want to be nice, like you're
I
being so
know,
polite.
I know. He could. It's Saturday night, so who knows what Bloomberg is doing.
Yes, yeah. I always feel like Bloomberg probably sleeps in a coffin. I don't know. He just seems like a very uh vampire type of guy to me. I can't explain it. I mean, he's been out during the day, so clearly he's not. But still. But hey Yakub, hey Harlow, hey 2008 B Scott. Yeah. So this has been an important week because we just had Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz took his family across the border to Mexico for a better life. He did it in reverse. He crossed the border for a better life from America to Mexico. That's
that
a
that it was Mexico just made it so much more fun. Like it was just so much better.
it also seems like a weird place to take your family as a grown man, like Cancun. It just seems I went there for like spring break. It just seems weird. He's going there. I'm trying to picture him at Senor Frogs or something like that.
And he's gonna go. Like he saw that show.
Yeah, yeah. But how are you doing today? We're gonna talk about Biden's stuff, but I want to know how's everything going with you.
Oh, just hanging out at home.
Yeah, the COVID. Have you been going stir crazy? Or have you been okay?
No, I've been okay actually. Well, I mean, you can ask some of my friends and like they won't say that. But it's like this, but mostly uh lately especially I'm getting a lot of work done. So I've been okay.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I'm at my mother's house, right? I had to go visit her or something, and she just came by and was trying to help me with something. And I'm like, no. This is- but
This is how
you
life is like in class and stuff, you
what's
can't
that?
control.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But you wanted to talk about the whole thing with Joe Biden, right? And you're pretty excited about Joe Biden these days, right? You feel very encouraged by the stuff he's announcing.
So, I mean, when it was very, very early on, like who was going to be the nominee, I said that if it was Joe Biden, I would light myself on fire in Times Square. Um, because I just like really didn't think one that he would like live, that he'd be alive, and then two that he won. Like that's so weird. That's very weird. But but yeah, no, it's interesting what they've put up on their with comprehensive immigration reform.
So, what is the bill? I mean, the people on it are Bob Menendez and Linda Sanchez is the second woman's name, right? Do I have that right?
Mm, I think it's Menendez and then
It's Menendez and Sanchez, but I forget Sanchez's first name. I think it's Linda. Let me double check. But I'm
um,
pretty sure it is. I've heard of Menendez before, but
Schumer.
not.
It's Schumer. It's Menendez, Schumer, Padilla. Wh- where is you know
Ah, I see. Hold on, I got it here. Oh, so Melen- Melendez. Okay, so it says Mr. Menendez and Representative Linda T. Sanchez unveiled it, but you're saying Padilla and Schumer are on it too?
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest, it's more than I expected. I don't. Was it more than what you expected?
Yes, yes. Yeah,
So,
no, a lot more. It's it's trippy.
so how would you sum it up? Like if you want to sum it up yourself.
Um, okay, so it communicates a number of things. I think one, it's a priority to undo Trump's work, and so that seems like a lot of like that gives the impression that they're doing a lot when it's just sort of undoing stuff that like all the nightmares that Trump did. But it's really connected. Okay, I'm not answering the question, but it's really connected like Obama, Trump, Biden. Um, it, it's like if he's answering to himself when he was vice president with Obama, if that makes sense.
No, no, it makes sense.
So yeah, it
I,
seems
Actually, you know what? Just in case it doesn't make sense to somebody out there, do you want to elaborate on it?
right. So all the things that the Obama administration shied away from, um, this one is like this bill, this Biden bill, is putting it like at the very forefront. So in the very, at the very beginning, they present um, like okay, first they're calling it like comprehensive reform, which no, like we don't do that. The last person that did that was Reagan. So this is in 1986, by the way. So we never call it that. Like immigration legislation and policy is a set of like piecemeal. Like they've just been added together, and they've been added together in a way that's very punitive and very harmful. And it just it's incremental, right? Like it never goes the other way. It keeps escalating. And so I was very surprised that this one mentioned right away, like at the beginning, at the forefront, that it wanted to be comprehensive and like provide a way to legalization. And yeah, it was just straightforward, and I was surprised.
And has he had like a lobby that's been really? I mean, has there been a lobby really holding his feet to the fire? I was kind of impressed at how strong he came out the gate about this as well, and I was wondering
Yes,
what was going on behind the scenes with either a lobby or a constituency that had him
exactly.
approaching this with such a sense of urgency.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so it's February 20th. It is 1 month, right? So also he's gesturing that this is a priority. Um, and then the thing that really like freaked me out the most, that's why I'm saying it's trippy. The thing that really surprised me the most is that there is no call for an extra $7 bajillion that they're gonna give to Department of Homeland Security and ICE. Um, there's no call for like, oh, we're gonna, like 100,000 more like Border Patrol agents. That's this usual status quo. And a lot of that money goes to private contractors who, like technology and equipment and whatnot. And that's not in here. Like that was very
Yeah,
weird.
and that's pretty impressive because usually to get Republicans on board, they usually have a lot of gestures toward border security and
Right,
those different types of things. And this is not in here. One thing I
right.
really liked about this, I don't know much about Bob Menendez to be honest, but
Me either.
I was impressed that he said this because one thing I always hate is that the Congressional Black Caucus never really, I feel, pushes for anything substantive. It's always like very symbolic stuff, and can we get an official apology for X, Y, and Z, and things like that. And this I thought was interesting. It says in the New York Times coverage of this,
Hmm.
Mr. Menendez rejected arguments by some immigration advocates that Congress should pursue more targeted bills that provide citizenship to smaller, more discrete groups of undocumented people. And it has a quote from him: "We will never win an argument that we don't have the courage to make. We will do the righteous thing and make our case for both inclusive and lasting immigration reform." And the fact that he said we'll never win an argument that we don't have the courage to make, so we have to ask for it all. I was like, oh, that's good. I have to give it to him.
I mean, what? Yeah, no, it's it's unexpected and it's different. Like there are definitely some firsts in here. It's the first time that they also. I mean, here's the thing though. So there are some significant firsts in this, but it's also like I don't want to get carried away and give the impression that it's a real paradigm shift because it's not that either. But one of the things that I was very surprised was the acknowledgement of the harm and like the harm and how the policies that have been created in the past just don't work and how like that's an ongoing cycle. Like I was very surprised that they would see things in a systemic way and like
Yeah.
so I say like real yeah.
B. Scott, I'm curious what you mean by this. You're saying the CBC would make the same argument as Menendez that we might as well ask for everything? Because I'm not so sure, but maybe you know someone in the CBC that I'm not currently um, thinking about.
Because
I'm open. What's that?
they never have.
Yeah, I
Like
yeah, I personally don't think so. So either, but uh, to give an idea specifically what this is about, I'm
mhm.
looking for the easy peasy bullet list, but it says 1.9 trillion dollar relief plan. It's the lead people on it are Menendez and Sanchez. It's called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Yes. Like what
Uh,
a stupid name, but yeah.
oh, actually, they're joined by 10 of their colleagues, so that probably includes Schumer and Padilla and the other people.
Cory Booker, yeah.
Okay, do you have a list of all 10 handy?
Yes, I have it.
Okay.
So, okay, it is.
Oh, B. Scott saying they would argue for immigration heavily. Oh yeah, that I agree with. The Congressional Black Caucus would more likely. No, I meant they wouldn't do that for black people. I was saying. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Karina.
And Biden's moratorium of like 100 days of no deportations is not true because, and to make the point about race, they have been deporting black immigrants to Haiti,
Yeah.
even though there's this moratorium. So yeah, it's definitely a factor.
Yeah. So the 10 people are. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. The 10 people.
so Menendez, Schumer, Padilla, Lujan, Booker, Hirono, Klobuchar, Sanders, Blumenthal, Gillibrand, Coons, Baldwin, Bennett, Schatz, Feinstein, Markey, Warren, Hickenlooper, Durbin, Rosen, and Van Hollen.
So there's going to be an 8-year path to citizenship for most of the 11 million undocumented immigrants living in the U.S. as of January 1st. So basically, you have to be here by January 1st. You can't come in after. You pass background checks, pay taxes, and then you're allowed to live and work in the United States for 5 years. So they're going to have a status for 5 years that allows them to live and work, but it won't be a green card. After the 5 years, they get the green card. And then 3 years after the green card, they have the opportunity to get citizenship. So there's a path to a green card in 5 years and a path to citizenship in 8.
Yeah, no, it's at least 10 years. I mean, this is, of course, also like the first bill, right? Where this has no Republican support, and like, who knows if it has like Democratic support. So it's not going to get passed. It's not going to be this bill. But essentially, it's going to be like one more layer than what is in place now. And that, so they call it the LPI, like LPI for
Is it legally protect? Is it something with protection?
yeah,
I used to know what LPI was, but I'm
lawful lawful prospectus.
oh, I was
Lawful
wrong.
prospective immigration status. Lawful, yeah, prospective. Because it's not sure. It's prospective immigration status. So it's 5 years as that where you again are paying taxes. You can work. But you have you cannot have any criminal background. You cannot have like any mishap with the IRS with taxes, and you better not even think about like any social benefits, which like welfare, which it didn't need to go in this bill because Bill Clinton made it like really cemented that argument, like and people, immigrants are not eligible since
Yeah.
1996. But no, it was in there again.
So they put it again about welfare in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the
Did you also see that it's like 5 pages of because it's like referencing an older document, so it's like 5 pages of saying, please strike alien and and insert non-citizen, please. Like
oh really?
and it's just like pages and pages and pages.
That is funny. So basic kind of like a euphemism. Just take
Yeah.
non-citizen.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Well, yeah, alien. Not illegal. Just the word alien is like no, it is canceled.
So so illegal is not canceled, but the word alien is. Was there a lot of people complaining about the word alien? Like what exactly is the issue?
I mean, I've heard people complain, right? Oh, illegal alien that's on your documents, but
The illegal part I think would be worse than the alien part.
yeah, me
Yeah.
too. That's why I was like, Okay.
That's really
Or like
interesting.
just go for like go, go for everything. Go for illegal too, like illegal and alien.
What are your thoughts? Like, so okay, a lot of people have the attitude of, "Hey, it's better than nothing." I would imagine there's people like that. But do you get a sense of what like the community of activists and organizers who agitate for better immigration policy, what their take on it is? Like, are they pretty, um, based on what you see, so beat down from Trump that they're kind of overly jubilant, or is the consensus that they want still more?
I I mean, so there are a few little things that are in here only because of like the long history of activists and like organizers and advocacy organizations that have been, pushing this nonstop. Um, but eliminating bans from people who overstay their visa. Right now you get banned, you get a punishment of like you can't return to the US for a minimum of 3 years, and that can be 3, 5, 10, like whatever, depending on what the courts decide. So that's being eliminated. And the other thing is increasing the number of visas as well as like more categories of visas. And those are two little small things that I know is really just because of like people pushing really, really hard for them nonstop. About the rest, I think people are cautious. I think there are a few things that are so in the same way that there's some real departures here, like there are also like real concerns that I imagine these people share as I do. And then who knows? Who knows if this is going to get passed? I imagine people on the ground. Uh, that makes it sound weird. Like people are never like if there are people that are not. But I imagine that like we're quickly starting to think about what like this is going to take forever to go through. Who knows if it'll go through? Like what aspects on integration can we start like working towards?
So, I mean, I was pretty shocked, honestly, because I know some people who will be able to take advantage of this just off the top of my head. And something, something I always wonder, like, why is the face of immigration reform and a lot of the agitating for immigration reform and the organizers and stuff, why is it so overwhelmingly, it seems, Latino? Like, is there, for example, I would think, being that a lot of black immigrants are kind of end up getting embroiled in this,
Mhm.
that they would be like, is it that there's a lot of non-Latino immigrant advocates, but they just tend not to be the face of it, or like, how did that end up happening?
I don't know actually, and one of the things that people are pointing out is the same thing that I mentioned. Like the deportations are still going, like they're still sending Black immigrants back to Haiti. So um, I don't know, like how to become the face. I think there's a very and like this is something that I wanted to talk about that is problematic because a lot of the narrative has always been around the dreamers, right? Like they're
Yeah.
young, they're kids, and so like that's been an ongoing narrative and visual that people have pushed because that's going to make voters, like just less, I don't know, like less likely to fight against that. It's why Obama did the DACA, right? And like he couldn't get the DAPA with like for the parents.
The I mean, my family is a bunch of black. There's a lot of black immigrants, in my family. I was born in America, but cousins,
America's a little construct.
What's that?
America is a social construct, but anyway.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it's a social construct, but the idea is I never really know any, as far as I know, like Haitian immigration activists. Really, as far as like whatever, it's kind of like just wait and see. I feel like is the attitude among a lot of black immigrants. I don't know exactly why it is, as far as I know. I mean, I know a lot of Haitian activists just for general immigration policy. I just tend not to meet many, and I was like, I'm trying to figure out, do they not really exist in numbers like that, or is it that for some reason they just don't get to be made the face? The
Yeah. So that's a that's a really interesting question because, and I like this in my notes of like something that I wanted to talk about because
yeah,
we have this bill and we also have like the timing and like the position of undocumented workers as essential workers, right? And so this is something that like should be used to help push this forward. But outside of COVID, like outside of a global pandemic, it's really, really difficult. Like in my work, where it's strictly Latinos, not necessarily from Mexico, but Latino, they don't want to draw attention to themselves.
mm-hmm.
So like there are a lot of dynamics going in there where like a lot of people have internalized that like it's better to not be the face.
Yeah. Haitian people are very much like that, as
Like
in
Trump deported.
don't attract attention. Don't you know be happy to be here. Don't rock
Yeah,
the boat excessively, etc.
right.
But you were talking about the timing and the positioning of the immigration reform. Did you have more to say about that?
So I mean, think about it. It's the same thing that we could say about like uh, healthcare, unemployment, like all these stigmatized uh, concepts that like the average American voter is going to be for or against. Like if there was ever a window to argue in favor of unemployment and healthcare that's not connected to your job, like it would be now. Um, and it's the same thing like happening with this, right? I think if there's ever a window to argue for, um, I mean, it's something like 80% of essential workers are immigrants. And there's a shift in that people understand that the person delivering your takeout is probably an immigrant and likely undocumented. But it hasn't, like, that hasn't gone beyond that. Like, I feel like it's possible to push further and say, like, what about, like, these workers have always been very precarious, and like, and they're also more than that. Like, there's like an inherent discrimination and like value built into that narrative, and so I think it's sort of like wasting an opportunity to say that that immigrants, yes, we know that they do work that nobody wants to do in the snow and whatever, but like also they deserve to have rights. They deserve to have labor protections. I think it would have been. I mean, this is the only time where you can talk about immigrants and labor in the same conversation since 2006, which sounds like a long time ago, but I mean, it's only been like twice where like nationally this conversation took place. So I think it would have been a good time to like connect it to labor and to also, agitate people on like these people have no say politically in this country where like they show up to work and like put themselves, in harm's way during a pandemic and whatnot.
What you said
But you
about
said about
tying.
like
What's that about?
what's that about?
Is there an,
Is there
is there an echo?
is there an echo?
I don't hear.
Oh, you don't hear it? Okay, I hear it, but I don't know if everyone else hears it. Yeah, but oh my god, that echo's driving me crazy.
Oh no. What do I?
Wait, so hold on. The people in the chat, is there an echo? Okay, I think it's good now. Okay. Yeah, something in general is up in my audio. It sounds weird, but I can't change it. I don't know if it's something with the internet connection or what, but it doesn't usually sound like this. But when you were saying about labor, like what are some of the labor things you think have to be done with it? Because I imagine part of the other problem is exploitation, and one of the historic reasons why a lot of people liked the idea of the immigration weren't for the best of reasons. Some people liked immigration for human rights reasons, but some people see it as a way to get cheap labor or easier to exploit labor. So, what
Yeah,
kind of things do you think it has to be paired with?
exactly. So this is like but this is like Ted Cruz level of hypocrisy where all they do is demonize immigrants. Um, and of course, I'm saying that like in a very coded way of like they demonize brown and black immigrants. Um, but they will never really like deport them all because what they're counting, like at this point, this country is addicted to cheap labor. And so there's no way that they're gonna really do that.
I,
But I say,
li-
but I say like
I like what you
connect.
said about addicted, because I think it really is an addiction.
Yeah, no, it's the United States is addicted to cheap, exploitable labor, and like it's comforting to just know that that pool is there. And so, yes, people have been like more understanding and more open to that, but I think that there should be more deliberate framing of like these are workers who deserve worker like labor protections as well, right? The same way that like we were clapping for like nurses and whatnot, like when all of this started, it's the same way that we should be framing the argument on these are essential workers. They deserve like basic labor protections, which I mean, during Trump, like if an immigrant, went to the state or local, like to complain that they didn't get paid, like ICE was there waiting. So
Todd Make in the chat pointed out, which is true, that the country is built by free labor. So it's been addicted from the start. But even before the mass immigration, there was always that they could exploit. The prison labor replaced the slave labor, where they paid him like um, pennies to dollars on the hour, and illegal immigration is another. I mean, for the whole continuity of this country, like cheap labor has been in addiction for it. I mean, they went to war just for to keep their free labor, their cheap labor. Yeah. So, um, Ra has a question, but I don't fully understand the question. So, if you don't mind adding to it, but she says, "Is more visas necessarily better for immigrants?" And I'm curious to know her rationale. But if you can understand the question as it's posed, by all
so
means, feel free to answer it.
and they can tell me if I'm right or not, but there's discrimination like embedded into like the issuing of visas, even like tourist visas. Even if I have family in Mexico who want to come visit me in New York, like they have to go through much more scrutiny, and it's less likely that they get just a fucking tourist visa to visit a family member in the US. So, is it good for immigrants? I mean, I think that discrimination that's built into the system, yeah, it would be good for immigrants, right? But like, if you're from fucking Paris, like, you don't know. So,
The So there's something here. What are the real departures, positive and negative?
this is a very good question. So, let's see. I want to make sure. Okay.
Hold on, I'm laughing because she wrote that question, so she's
I
complimenting
know,
herself.
I know.
That's why
Like,
I'm laughing.
yeah, that's so great that you bring it up. But okay, so like positive first, just the broadening, and I think someone's comment like pointed to this, the broadening of who's eligible, right? Like usually when you try to work on immigration policy, like it has to be a very narrow focus. It has to be the dreamers because they're children and they're innocent, and like that's the only way you can sell it. So one, it's weird that it's like very it's really broadened, like the eligibility. So it is like TPP, right? Like the workers who are here from Venezuela. It is DACA. It's everyone who made it like before, what's the date? Like January 1st. So it's very, very broad, and that usually never happens. It like goes against the rules, right? Like the more sweeping a policy proposal is, like the less likely it is to get passed. They also okay, and just before I go into like the negatives or the challenges, I wanted to also mention like one of the other positive things that I know is because of organizers and advocates is um, did I mention? Yes, I mentioned like the barriers for re-entry. Like now, this bill is talking about like what happens if we deported someone and their families here, and like how do we get the family back together, which under the Trump administration would have never happened. So there's again like a wider thinking about reunifying families, which has not been the goal or the priority in immigration policy for a while. Um, Also, this is the first time that there's like also a little hint of like climate change. And you know, Biden, there is like some report where it shows Biden asking his team like, okay, what's likely to come up with migrants and climate change, like environmental factors, and how would this like how many people would this affect, like how would it affect us being able to enforce like national security. So at least there's like a conscious and I think that's huge. I think there's like at least like a consciousness of we will very soon have refugees and asylum seekers just on environmental factors alone. So that's good. What else is good? What else is good? I think that's it. Am I? Yeah, I think that's all the good stuff.
Okay.
So, yeah, now I don't want to be a bummer, but okay. Their challenges, their challenges, they're not negatives. Some of them we've already mentioned, like there's a deliberate exclusion from participating in any type of like social policy program, right? So you have to be like you have to have your own private healthcare. All Obamacare is actually like mentioned quite a bit in that in the bill itself. I know it's like 354 pages, but there are lots of like little things in there that will easily, you know, knock someone off of the road to of the very very long road to legalization. The other negative, the other challenge is that you have no voice in the political process until like a decade from now.
Yeah.
There's also a fundamental misunderstanding on why people move. Like like I mentioned with like the environmental stuff, like people are going to move just on environmental factors alone and climate change. But if you're going to work on immigration, you want to do a bill like this, you have to understand like what drives migrant movement, right? And you have to be like build your solution around like the way this works. And one of the very weird things in this bill is that Mexico is not mentioned. That's a first. That's a first because usually it's like a shared responsibility to police the border. And the US government gives Mexico a lot of money and a lot of resources to do that, right? So Mexico is not in this bill, which okay has to do. I mean, it like involves the president. Like the president is not speaking to the American government the way that in the past they have. But this bill says they're going to be refugee processing centers throughout Central America. So if you are in Guatemala and you are facing life threatening danger and you want to, petition the United States for asylum, there's a center for you to do that in Venezuela, and you're supposed to like go there and wait there, um, which is weird. But that really struck me as like the most like, oh, this is bad. This is bad because it doesn't mention Mexico. Like this is it's bad on a whole like on a long, long list of.
I think not mentioning Mexico is especially bizarre because that's been the focal point of a lot of this.
It's yeah, this is the first time that that's ever happened. So during the Trump administration, like anyone who wanted to get to the U.S. border and ask for asylum, like Trump set up that MPP program where they were contained like on the Mexican side of the border, right? And like they would stay there for how I mean they were still staying there in like these sort of like tent camps, even when COVID started. Um, so yeah, Trump had like was very involved with the Mexican government and had them act as a buffer to anyone coming from Central America trying to reach the US. Exactly. How about we adjust foreign policy to not destabilize other countries? Yes. Like that's one of like the worst parts of this, right? That the people who oh yeah.
Ooh, test.
Oh, there.
You can hear me? Is it echoing?
No.
Okay, it was echoing before, so I was just trying to fix it. People in the chat were saying it was echoing. Um, yeah, but I don't know if it's because I'm at my mom's house. For people who don't know to do something at my mom's house, and I'm all. Someone said this is a very mom type painting. Yeah, I agree. But uh, what would real comprehensive reform look like? You think to you?
Uh, so I mean, 2008 BS. I mean, not BS. Scott, B. Scott. The, and all the excitement of like, oh wow, like this is strange. Um, there are lots of things that are missing, right? Like the drug cartels, like organized networks of smuggling. Like that's not even if you pass immigration, like comprehensive reform, like that's not going to go away. Um, so I think about all these other issues that are missing that like we don't talk about. That have a lot to do with destabilizing other places. Like, okay, like the United States has like been on a binge with Mexico to like police the border more and more and more and more, like militarize the border. So now you're gonna ask them to not use that logic when I think like it's too late. That logic has been already like planted and like reinforced over and over and over again. We would also, if it was going to be like a holistic approach, we would also look at incarceration. Like deportations, detention is not at all like there's nothing that's gonna change that. Like there's no threat to that.
Something that is in this comment, I think, is very true as well. It says true leftism must be aggressively anti-imperialism because it sucks up so much resources, and that's a problem that I've had a problem with American leftism in general. Is that especially like that Bernie Sanders one, and it's not a diss toward Bernie Sanders, but a lot of his fans don't really think about international issues or care about international issues or whatever, even the ones that directly impact America or that are directly the result of America. Is just very domestically based, and that's an American issue in general. No matter what the party, American people just tend to be not very international curious.
And just, yeah, everything unstable in El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala is because of US intervention. So, yeah.
Yeah, but let people know, because one thing I think people have a mistake about is this idea that everything was hunky dory, Democrats were in charge, especially a Democrat of color, and things were going swimmingly. And then Trump, the orange Cheeto, came in,
Yeah,
and he's
right.
the fascist, and he caused all this stuff, and this is just
Right.
going to be returned to the good old Obama days. And I think it's a very big misconception. And as bad as Trump is, he was right when he asked Joe Biden, "Who built the cages? Who built the cages?"
You know,
And no one wanted to acknowledge that what he said was true, because you're not supposed to say that.
right. Um, right. So the Obama administration, with all the pressures of what a caravan, like a caravan from Central America, like the pressure like that made him look bad and weak, and like that it was going to lead to open borders and more rape and crime and whatnot. So Obama began family incarceration. So for when Michelle Obama said kids in cages in that convention, like I almost had a stroke because like yeah, like people have amnesia, right? And even if they do remember, it's such like cognitive dissonance, like it's so like uncomfortable, and you don't want to make it fit that you just like throw it out and you
I
like pay
think
normal.
amnesia gives him too much credit for knowing it in the first place. I don't think they even knew it to forget it. I think people are very incurious when a Democrat's in charge.
One of the last things that Obama did was give a closed bid. So closed bid contractor, CCA, who is now called Core Civic Prison, $1 billion for a family facility, like for a family prison, essentially. So no, they're like children have been behind bars, like incarcerated before Trump.
One of my favorite things to see on Twitter is when a liberal's talking about something, and
Like even in
some radical or leftist comes on and tells them, actually, Obama did this first, whatever. And it's like when a kid puts his fingers in the ear and it's like la 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 la, I can't hear you. Like that's what the responses are like. They're just like,
yeah.
yo, shut up. What are you talking about? Do you want to help Trump? Be quiet. It's just the funniest thing to see.
I mean, this is like a brain response. Like your brain cannot accommodate. So you have a worldview, and like you get information that doesn't fit into your worldview. You like attack it. You make fun of it. You ignore it. Like a number of things. But yeah, that's what people do. That's what liberals did in that case. Like they just I don't know how like you would justify it. So they just a lot of them said it wasn't true. A lot of them said that it was different, but no. It really came down to like kids incarcerated with their families or like kids incarcerated on their own.
Now, we've been talking about this for a while, even before it went on air, and I cannot remember what we said on air just now or before. But did we talk about the changes to DACA, private prisons, and refugees and asylum seekers specifically on air?
So a little bit, right? The refugees, well, okay, wait, asylum seekers first. Asylum seekers now have a processing center. Like this is the Biden. This is what like I we said was scary that like Mexico is not mentioned, but there are going to be processing centers in all the Central American countries except for Mexico. And so think about this. If you are an asylum seeker, like you are supposed to be threatened with violence, like like you're going to lose your life. Like someone's going to kill you. So this is why you are an asylum seeker. I think it's very weird that it's like we're going to set up something here in your country and like you can go file a claim and like you wait, like you just stay there. So I'm wondering like what will happen with that. Like if like that, I mean, part of it I think is like a like people don't believe it or people don't think it's credible. So like let's see if like I get to your case and you're alive, then I don't know, like something like that. It's
If I get
weird.
to your case and you're alive, that's like morbid.
Yeah, no, like
It's
that
true.
then
It's true though.
yeah. Because why, yeah, why else would they ask just like stay in your country and wait for um refugees so refugees were completely like Trump like threw it out, right? Like that it didn't exist. And so now the Biden administration is like slowly starting to try to put it back together. Um, but I'm sorry, I'm laughing because it's like all these people, all these refugees overseas that like are dying trying to get like to some country, and the Biden administration is like, we're gonna do refugees, but it's gonna be next year, and it's gonna be like I don't know, like three of them, like a very small number.
One thing I'm curious about, and maybe this is in the plan but smaller, um, with asylum things. One of the worst things that Trump did with his rules, he changed it so that asylum seekers have to wait like a year to be able to get employment authorization. So,
And they
um,
had to, yeah. And
so
also,
mhm.
he's like left so many of them in Mexico of like,
Yeah, he left a lot of them in Mexico and told them to do a certain process in Mexico and they'd be able to get into the country, and then changed it on them, so they got stuck in Mexico and used to be able to apply after like 5 months of pending asylum to be able to work. Now you have to wait like over a year, so you got to sit in America without the ability to work for a year, which is basically just clearly done to keep you from
right.
um, being able to support yourself, and I guess maybe give up and go back. I don't know.
Yeah, it's completely meant to discourage you. I mean, that you have to wait in Mexico where there's no infrastructure at all. So, like, you're waiting, and it's like a little tent city uh, right by the border. And this was like when COVID broke out, like, how could you sustain this? So, it's completely meant to discourage you in every single way that they can. Um, yeah, I
Did
mean,
we mention DACA of your prisons? I think might have taken you off track. I don't know if you had a chance. You started with refugees and asylum seekers.
so DACA is part of the reform, right? Like they're included if they had DACA status at any point, like they're automatically eligible for this Biden plan.
And the private prisons, how does that relate to?
And so this is like the sort of um, surprise that there was no. Usually, it's like we're gonna appropriate like $1 bajillion for national security, and that usually goes to private contractors. That's not mentioned in this bill yet, or I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's weird. Like the cynic in me is sorry. There's a siren.
Yeah, for once it's me. And I'm in the suburbs right now. It's like super quiet. The quietness is actually kind of loud to me, if that makes sense. Like I'm used to like the white noise of stuff in the background, and here it's like you can hear a pin drop all the time. For people who don't know, I'm in Long Island, and I'm in the suburbs. I'm in the burbs. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no. Okay. This has to be a game. Like if I mean, if it was like Vegas odds, like I would bet everything that like this is just a game, and like the money will come out in the negotiations, and because it's not even partisan, like it's both the Democrats and the Republicans who get money.
When you say it's a game, like what do you mean? You mean like it's I'm
Like
sorry.
if I had to bet on like what's gonna happen with like the this is like the biggest part of the budget is security. Um,
Yeah.
so like what's gonna happen to the bajillion of dollars? I would say like it's still gonna go to Boeing, you know, and like the private prisons and all of that.
Uh, I see what you mean. I see what you mean. Um, there's so the perception of changes by the Biden administration versus reality. So the perception of changes by the Biden administration on halting deportations. What do you think is the perception versus the reality on that?
I mean, that's like this is what makes me really angry with like liberals, because the day, you know, that it was announced that like Biden won, that's it. Like they will never care about any issue again. Like this is what I mean, like the perception of things. Like the news says that like this is the most Noam Chomsky said that this is the most like progressive administration ever. Like
A lot
who's
of people have
gonna
been saying that. It's very
yeah.
bizarre. But yeah, Noam Chomsky said that.
So yeah, that's weird. Like I just think that no one's gonna really care. Deportations are still happening, even though it's a moratorium. Like deportations, knowing that like you know immigrants are held in detention centers, which is just the same. It's a prison. Like essentially it's a prison. It works out of the same building. It's a prison. You can't like all of these prisons have COVID outbreaks, and then like you are shipping, you know, like you're like deporting people with COVID to their countries. But yeah, the perception, I mean, like no one's gonna know that or raise that or question anything except that there's all this good stuff that like Biden is proposing.
Now, I have some notes from you, but I'm not sure if these were done before the this was announced. So this
Yeah.
might actually be a changed answer, but I you were talking about the perception of changes when it came to helping refugees and working on immigration reform. Now that this has happened, have your perceptions changed? Do you think now he can be said to um, be helping refugees and seriously working on immigration reform? Like to what degree do you feel you've been wrong about Biden after this?
Like punked, that I'm being punked. Uh, no, it's weird. It's weird, but like I don't feel. I feel that this is the very first thing that's come out. I don't know. I mean, it's so broad that again, like when like there has been a story on immigration like for decades. So that story says like open borders, like crime, rape. I mean, it's almost comical, but it's true. So no, my perceptions are the same. I feel like it's a different maybe like performance of it, but I would be very shocked if like suddenly like this was the law of the land. What?
So this is asking about immigration. Like, what do you think is Plan B if this doesn't get passed, or should be Plan B?
Well, should be is different. I think what's going to end up happening is the same thing that's always happened when it comes to immigration reform. Like, there's going to be a bill for the DACA kids. There's going to be a bill for the essential workers. Like, my prediction would be that Plan B looks a lot like the history of immigration legislation in this country, which is piecemeal, like just adding little slices here and there.
The so Todd Mink, I think he's asking about anti-blackness in Latin American countries. So he's saying, why is the treatment of descendants of slaves in Latin American countries? They are hardly ever shown or discussed, and from what I can tell, they are usually bottom cast by governments. It's not technically on the topic of this, but it was asked, so I will put it up there.
Yeah, of course. So there is a racial hierarchy, right? And even, yeah, even among like the illegal and all that, like there is still a hierarchy. And yes, it's true that there is very much silence when it comes to Black immigrants. Like, right, like you, I don't know if it's like good or bad necessarily. Like Muslims get a lot after 9/11, like Muslim immigrants get a lot of shit, right? Um, but yeah, of course, there is definitely a racial hierarchy in place. And yes, they are, even though they are a part of this, like they are never really referenced or shown.
One thing that was interesting that happened to me on the internet was um, a a guy that was Afro Mexican. He was a black Mexican. Was and on his Twitter page, if you checked his bio, he had links to all this black Mexican stuff, and it was this black Mexican advocate, and his whole page was just about how badly black Mexicans are treated, but he was getting into an argument with black Americans online and saying the craziest anti-black stuff. It was the most bizarre thing. So I was like, wait, how was your whole page about how being African in Mexico gets you treated bad, but you're saying nothing but horribly racist and stereotypical stuff about black Americans? And that was like my first and only experience with a black Mexican. It was a very surreal thing. I could
So
not
I mean,
understand how he was doing both at once. It was
well, it's your salient identity, right? Like the one that speaks and like acts, like that's your salient identity. Like I'm Mexican, female, immigrant, whatever, like a number of things. Like the one that I act on the most is the most salient identity. So obviously this person's most salient identity was one that like didn't what that he I don't know that he like didn't was he not believing in American and
I mean, he was just saying horribly stereotypical things about black Americans, like lazy, don't deserve reparations. That's why black people. It was like this horrible stuff, and he just didn't see the irony that his whole page was about being treated like that in Mexico. It was a very um, bizarre thing in that he was anti-black, but didn't like anti-blackness in Mexico when it affected him,
yeah,
and was fine saying the most crazy
crazy.
stuff. But he was also mad. This was also very weird. He was also mad that black Americans weren't fighting for black Mexicans, which was a very weird thing. So then he was saying that if Black Lives Matter, why don't black Americans care about what's happening to black people in Mexico? And this idea that black Americans should be like mules for black Mexicans, but he was saying also that they shouldn't get reparations, and it was just a very weird
Oh
uh,
no.
thing. But I'm saying like all these things are kind of complicated because on one hand I can sympathize with a lot of the mistreatment of black people in Latin America and the
Yeah,
anti-blackness, but sometimes when I interact with them, they have their own type of uh, anti-black issues with black people in the rest of the
right.
diaspora.
Right. Yeah, no, like they've been so, yeah, I mean, m- my guess is that like people are socialized in a way and that's it. Like they don't understand basic socialization that like in different countries. I don't know. Like that's yeah, that's fucking weird.
Um, I think that's the last question I had about this thing. So, is there
Mm,
anything in general that you is on your mind you want to close out with? Just feel it could be related to this. It could be anything to that. Um, what you're watching on TV, anything.
propaganda. Okay, okay, two things.
Okay.
One, because your story reminded me. One, like watch, I will bet like everything. I would bet whatever, like I bet anything that this is all going to be a story of deservingness. Like that's what I mean with like the DACA, the dreamers. Like I don't think it's going to be like a nice bill that like oh like represent. No, I don't think that's happening. I think it's going to come down to stories of deservingness and how that's political points. Like that's political capital. You either lose points for doing like amnesty, which is what the right is going to say, um, or you gain points by like being very very specific and like these are only like non-criminal young people that speak English perfect. Like watch, it's going to come down to like who deserves it, and that's like my concern with essential workers that like they're not deserving. They're just like people just acknowledge that like yeah they're needed, but they're not like worthy. Okay, so that's it. That's the last thing that I was gonna say. And then second, I was going to uh yeah, just ask if anyone has seen the Showtime show Your Honor.
Oh yeah, you've been on one about this for a while. So yeah, yeah, I haven't been able to talk to you about it because I have not seen the show.
For a
But
while, like a week, because it just ended. It just ended. But
yeah, has anyone in the chat seen Your Honor? It has Bryan Cranston. I have
yes,
not. I have not seen it. But um, the reason I don't like watching those shows until they're done is because these shows that are built around a mystery, I hate when the mystery flops at the end because then I get mad I watch the show. So I like to
yes,
let the shows be done and I let someone like you be the crash test dummy. You can go car and see the crashes and you tell me if I should get in the car. So what is your take on it? Because I know it just ended. I didn't want to watch it until someone I know saw the whole thing.
I think it's not. There are moments that you will be like, oh man, this is so good, and like that's not true because it's not very well. I don't think it's well written. I think it's very well acted because Bryan Cranston is so good. And so is the other guy. I forget his name, but he was a scientist in the movie The Shape of Water. He is in this as like a bad guy, and he's very, very good. And it's shot in New Orleans, so like it's beautiful. But
I, sorry, go on.
yeah, no, I was very disappointed. I'm okay. There was also, can I say this? Can I like vent? There's also the Undoing, I think it's called. Like the HBO
Oh
did
yeah,
the Hugh Grant, Nicole Kidman.
that one I did see.
Oh, you saw that? Okay, let's talk
Hmm.
about that.
Okay. Now you were gonna compare it to Your Honor. How? I'm curious.
Well, just that they're like mysteries, and then like it sucks. Like, and then like you're mad at the end. Like,
Oh, I actually like the ending of The Undoing. I can see why you might not though, because it. Well,
why?
it. Well, I'm figuring because it's set up as a certain type of payoff, and then because it because well, okay, first off, this is going to be spoilers. There's no way I can discuss this without giving spoilers. So if you really care about the end of Undoing, then you might want to turn it
Bye.
off now. Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
been
because there's no way. But
it's been months, and it's COVID. So like, if you're home, like, yeah,
that's true actually. You know what? You've been home, you have no excuse. Yeah, but the way that it ends is basically that the person who was the suspect all along ends up being the guy. Now I understand from a mystery point of view that kind of sucks, but I think what it was trying to say is that we get used to these tropes or these rules, and because of that, we refuse to believe. I think, okay, this is what I think it was trying to say. Whether it succeeded or not, or whether it was worth saying, is something different. But first, the guy is white. He's charming. He's this and that. So
I'm gonna say after you say, yeah.
okay, there's a lot of you. Plus, from watching other mysteries, there's a lot of you that thinks, of course, he can't be the killer. It's too obvious. And I think what, and maybe I'm giving too much credit. They're trying to make a point about like white privilege or different things. This idea that people would give the benefit of the doubt to, because everything after you find out it really was him that killed the girl all along, you realize, wait a minute, what reason did I have to even think it wasn't him?
And to like spend all this time on like something stupid. Yeah. I have a
Yeah.
very different conclusion.
Okay.
So my conclusion is that it's a it's a white lady thing
Oh, I
because
see what you mean.
it's and like tell me if like Nicole Kidman does anything else for a living these days where she's just like, oh my God, I'm a white lady. Is this really happening to me? Is this real? Like for real? Did I marry a crazy person? Because it's all like white lady and like their inner like mental conflict of like, oh, and like that's what it was, and that's why I was so angry.
Wait, that is fair, except the one thing I'm going to say about that, you're absolutely right, but to me, it was that from the very beginning. So to watch it at all, you had to accept that conceit, like this is white lady problems. So I do agree with you. I just think my problem is,
It was so much.
yeah,
Like
I
I
mean,
get, yeah, they showed in the
it's so
beginning, but like it's
it's so
so
that from the
much.
beginning that I feel like either I'm not gonna watch it or I'm not gonna complain about it, because the whole thing is first world white lady problems. You know,
Like all in her head. It's all, and like it was also shot like very close up, which I felt very bad because she looks now, like she has done stuff to her face, but I think it was entirely like white lady, like
also with high definition now, those close ups will kill you. It's not like it
yeah.
used to be. Like you see every pore, you see everything. Uh, with that show, it's by David E. Kelly, the guy who did Ally McBeal, and now he's doing these dramatic shows on HBO with Nicole Kidman. I didn't see the other one, but he also adapted, I think, Big Little Lies or something, which she was into. But
Which
he's
again is like Nicole lady, like
right
white
first,
lady
yeah, white lady problems, first world
in her head.
problems. But this is what I remember with that really got on my nerves with The Undoing. Why cast all these British and Australian people if they're not going to do a good American accent? Her accent, everyone's accents were just dropping all over the place. They all just sounded horrible and British.
Yes,
They kept dropping their accents, and then Hugh Grant is there playing a
who
British guy with a British accent. So I'm like, why even? At least they were smart enough to let Hugh Grant use his natural British accent, and then
yeah. No, I think it's by design. Like people, New York, Manhattan is a place of like transplants, and so like yeah, of course, someone it's like worldly to have people with weird
yeah,
accents.
yeah, they could have had them use their own natural accents instead of having them just but. Yeah, that really got on my nerves. I remember
You know
that
what?
bothering me.
You know what
Yeah,
my favorite thing was though? Enough, like it was my favorite thing that like enough to like I forgive myself for watching that stupid show because like, that was so good.
okay, wait. Let me ask you this: whether or not you like the destination, did you like the journey at all, or was the destination so bad, like the last episode of Dexter, that you don't even care about the journey? I don't care how nice the journey was. This was a because I enjoyed watching the show, regardless of how I feel about the final reveal. But I also think I thought Hugh Grant did a good job of being a scumbag. I
Of being bad, of like yes, I was so scared. Also, like okay, when they finally show how he kills her, I saw that on repeat over and over and over again because it was in her mind, it was built up of like all this
Yeah.
like going back and forth that like can I like but when he actually does it, he just kills her like that, like just boop, you're dead.
Yeah, it was really brutal. I think the good thing about making him do that is because people think of Hugh Grant as this classy British funny guy, and to see him, and he's very charming and affable. To see him play that role and play it so well, I thought was a good effect. But
Nicole can wear clothes. I agree.
yeah, but people are rough. He said her face was struggling. That's
I mean, it's the truth. No, she and there was like so many stupid like Huffington Post articles on like her jackets, like the jackets that she wore because they were nice. Yeah, no, she can wear clothes.
you know what? When you're not in your own house, it's horrible. My mom has plugs that still have only two prongs,
Hmm.
not
Oh,
the
not like
three prongs. Yeah, it's driving me nuts. I'm like, why is this plug not working? And I realize it's this old ass house.
uh,
But
I missed I missed the comments because someone mentioned RBG. I would love to talk about RBG.
oh yeah, please talk about RBG. Talk about RBG. Do you want to just take the reins for a second and talk about RBG? Here it goes. RBG is the defender of empire.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, can we talk shit? Like,
Yes, please do. And also, why is it with hip hop and RBG?
oh my God.
Oh, here we
So,
go. I can
you
plug
know
it in
what?
now. Keep talking. I'm gonna plug it in.
You know when they say like stealing valor? Like I feel like RBG stole Biggie valor because she would go on these talks and be like, do they, they'd ask her like, do you know why they call you this? And she would say, yeah, because we're both from Brooklyn. Okay, like calm down.
Oh my god, yeah. And those two white ladies who started it and got rich off of it. Every time I see them, they just seem so annoying.
And yeah, no, we just talked about this in my class recently of like there are lots of people who really, really genuinely think that the way that like their politics are through expression of like consumerism. Like I bought an RBG doll. I bought a shirt and I'm wearing it that says feminist. And so and like, they think that that those are real politics.
Yeah, yeah. And
I
the
wasn't happy, I wasn't sad when she died.
oh, that's rough. I mean, I wasn't either, but when you say that, people really lose it around you. But people don't just do it with RBG and with Alexander Hamilton.
No,
When
it's with everything. It's with everything because
when,
like, we are
when Biden,
indoctrinated. We are
mhm.
indoctrinated. We are socialized that like consumer is equal to citizen.
Check this out. When Janet Yellen was, it's weird. There's things that I think and say all the time, but when other people say them, I get surprised. Like for some reason, I'm surprised you said you weren't sad when
No.
RBG died, even though I would say the same thing. For some reason, it still surprised me because I'm used to like people not agreeing with me. But check this out.
No, I
When
wasn't. And
when
I'll
Janet
say where I
when
was.
Janet Yellen was picked by Biden, and she's like done some pretty horrible stuff, right? And she's not like she's in the bed with big business and all this stuff, but they made this thing. They said, "Watch out, Janet. Watch out, Hamilton. Janet Yellen's coming for your hip hop cred." So they
What?
gave they gave Janet Yellen a Hamilton slash RBG, hip hop makeover.
What?
And listen to this: all the liberals were sharing this online and on Facebook and everywhere for like a good
I'm
week.
so embarrassed to be here. Like, I want to just like go away too.
Oh, I, I I think it's like secondhand embarrassment because like you ever get embarrassed for someone who doesn't have the good sense to be embarrassed for themselves. That's what this
No, yes, of
felt
course.
like.
Like, I'm embarrassed for all of you, but I'm also embarrassed of like like what are leftist politics? Like what
Hold,
is like
hold,
Democrats? Like what is the
hold,
Democratic Party?
hold
Like
on, hold
I just
on.
want to
Get
kill myself.
get ready, because if
Oh
you were
man.
embarrassed before,
Oh man.
get ready.
All right.
Can you hear that?
Who's yelling now? Who's yelling? Who's yelling now? Doves on the left, hawks on the right, crosstalk in the flock trying to fight mid-flight. But here comes yelling with that inside voice. Never mind the mild manner policies make noise. She's 5'0", but hands are God. She could pop a collar, she could rock a power bob. Bay Ridge represent, Brooklyn's in the cabinet. Damn, Janet, go and get it. 59 for president. She knows the kind of stimulus it takes to pass the block. I heard she called the House in crisis. She's qualified. It only took a couple centuries. The first female secretary of the Treasury. Don't want no tax evasion, forges taking over the Treasury. Trying for higher wages for the nation, less disparity. Watch your step.
Yeah, so they use the whole Mary J. Blige, like, hateration thing. Don't want no tax evasion instead
Yeah,
of
no,
don't want no hateration. That's only the halfway point. I don't think I could subject you or myself to the second half, but
I mean, it's so long. It's so long. Like, why? It was not necessary.
but she just got there. Why are they celebrating? She hasn't done anything yet except for the representation. The representation is enough. She's the first woman. I'm telling you, if they had the first woman anything, I think somebody would, celebrate it. Like,
Like,
yeah.
I think representation is important. So I was the I was the first like Latino student in my PhD program, which is like absolutely batshit to me. Um, in my world, so I teach class and like I apologize, at the beginning of the semester because there are like 3% of Latino women who are professors. So yeah, I think representation is important, but that no, like that's bad.
Okay, real quick. Do you think it's a white woman or a black woman? I have no idea what people in the chat are arguing. I think it's a white woman, but I think it could be a black woman just because corniness goes across the board now. Like the days when it was hard to. Okay, she's a white woman. This is her. Her name is Dessa from a group called Doomtree. I'm glad we dodged that bullet.
Of
This
course,
this is her. I was very worried she was going to be.
black.
Yeah. I was worried. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why you see, like that's why representation matters because like you are worried, right? Like you don't want it to be like, oh no, like please don't.
Oh man, but yeah, that thing is terrible. I've never made it through the whole thing, and I wasn't gonna make today the first day. Yeah. So the people who said that she's white, you're right. You called it.
I was correct. Good job, James Coleman.
You're smoking like you are satisfied with what you just heard. It looks like the music was just so good. You're just like
No, no, I'm just like, okay, it's time.
also, that's stress smoking. That's not like okay. Oh, so it stressed you out that much. I mean, we're in for a lot of this. That's not even a full. That was the first week of office. Now, actually, before he even got into office, they made that song.
I mean, yeah, yeah, I don't know. Like RBG, yeah, back to like RBG. She didn't do anything. All she did was spend all her time writing dissents. And so I mean, the underlying problem is that we see people as individuals and not as like part of a system. Like RBG, I remember like one interview, she was like, yes, like me and Scalia, we fucking fight all day long, but then the day's over and we go to the opera together. Okay, so then fuck you.
But that's what liberals like. Liberals think compromise is the highest of virtues.
I
And
think that is white people.
yeah, well, I'm not sure because I feel like white Republicans don't put that at the top of the virtues. At the end of the day, I think white Republicans want what they want. You know, like
This whole notion of like it's bad to talk about race, it's bad to talk about like identity, like it's bad. Why? It's bad. It's not bad for me. It's bad for you as a white person hearing
yeah.
it. And so I think they've like,
I
yeah,
think
gotten too far away with that.
I think white people place their highest value on compromise when they're compromising on behalf of others. When it's time for their own behalf, I think they're very uncompromising. Is my take, you know? So
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna like clap until the end. Yes, no, of course. Of course. Like, what the fuck do you know about fucking struggle? Like,
I'm trying to think of, oh yeah, this was the book. I remember there was this book that was very popular with the NPR crowd, and it was called, I
oh
think,
my God.
Team of Rivals, and the whole thing was about how Abraham Lincoln, I guess, had to work. I think it was Abraham Lincoln. Some president had to form a team or legislate with people he didn't get along with. And I used to be on the train, and there'd just be these liberals reading it, salivating and stuff like that. And I was like, even in the past, the good old days, the best thing you could think of was, you know, like the idea of like Abraham Lincoln like going against all these people to willing to tear the country apart, over the slavery and Civil War. That's not what you're romanticizing. It's him being at a table with people who don't like him and
Yes.
working together. And I think it's because they just don't like
Conflict.
Yeah.
Like people, okay, sorry. Like white people are socialized to not like have conflict, to not have to deal with conflict when it comes to like the needs or like the like the presence of others. Like I live in white spaces, and if I say that, oh, forget about it. Like, these fucking like Pulitzer winning intelligent people like lose their shit.
There was this I wish I could remember it. Somebody I can't find it, but Virgil Texas was talking about how there was someone online that was talking about how great it would happen with this. We can get this 5-4 Supreme Court, and like Virgil Texas pointed out, even in this guy's wildest fantasies, the biggest liberals can fantasize about is a tie or a draw or something.
Right, because honestly, okay, like real talk, is there like my opinion is that there is no different ideology. Like that's why they want to tie, because like,
as in between liberals and Republicans, it's not really. Oh yeah, I totally agree with that. We talk about that all the time.
There is one ideology and that's it. It's why Cuomo is like, like sucking Bill Gates' dick. Like, we're gonna reimagine education. Like, what?
Yeah, and a bunch of vague stuff. I mean, this comment is so true. The show West Wing is nothing but that. The whole show is, and they still love the show to this day. I only saw it recently. Have you ever seen The West Wing?
No.
Oh my God.
No.
If you ever are tired of living, but you can't push that extra step to kill yourself, you should try it. It might
exactly.
push you into
why?
that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, why would I do that? Like, I already want to explode. Like, why?
Yeah. Or the opposite. If you're on the edge and you don't want to kill yourself, then keep away from the show. But basically, to give you an example of one of the moments they think really shows the best they can do, there's this woman who's kind of like an Ann Coulter type. She's like a right-wing lawyer, and she's all over the press and whatever, but she's really good at her job. So they need a White House lawyer. So one of the cast members of West Wing goes on this show against her, and she kind of trounces him on the show, right? And to them, it's a kind of feminism, like, "Oh, Sam, you got beat by a girl,"
Yeah.
and she's like super right wing. And then after that, Sam goes to her and offers her a job as White House counsel. And then she's like, "Are you aware that I'm a Republican?" And then he's like, "Yeah, but you're the best lawyer I've seen in a long time, and we need the other side to keep us honest." And
Oh my
they're
God.
like, "I don't agree with you, but sometimes we need the other side to keep us honest and on our toes." It's like, what do you guys even stand for then? But the
Yeah, exactly.
funniest thing is,
You know,
Mhm.
they stand for like public masturbation. That's all that is.
and in some cases, like literally, like the Coney 2012 guy, but that's a whole different story. But they brought that story back. They loved it so much, but 4 or 5 seasons later, they did it over again, where Matthew Perry came in as a right wing attorney, and again they were like, "He's right
You're
wing, but he's
you're
fair, and he's a good guy."
but he's fair. You see, okay, this is okay, real talk. Like this is white universalism, that like white people speak for everything, and white people get to decide what is fair, what is like right, what is balanced. Like, no, fuck that. Like that's just you're speaking for yourself, like not
Yeah.
for
I mean, they get to say what's balanced and fair for everyone, and what you're overreacting to. It's something that happens like all the time. Like, that's a good deal. Why aren't you happy?
yeah. Like
I like it. It's got nothing
yeah,
to do
no,
with you.
I am a white person. I don't think that that's racist. So that's decided. I'm like, okay, what? Like, who made you? Like,
Part of me
how
wants
are
you
you
to.
socialized to think that like this? Yeah, that you have a right to do this.
Part of me wants you to watch the show so bad. I just want to see how you.
You hate me then.
I just want to hear your rant. It's gonna be good. There's this podcast called The West Wing Thing.
Oh my God.
That they, but they hate the show. They make fun of it.
Oh, okay.
They're leftists. They watch the show episode by episode, and they have leftists come on and they talk. And I want you to go on there. I want to make you watch it and go on there, because I think you would have a good time.
Okay.
I just want to hear it. Yeah.
Like real talk, there was, and it was like a Brooklyn lefty, because like that's its own universe. But yeah, no, Brooklyn lefty was like, you have to watch this, and it was. So I saw a piece. It was an episode in which Allison Jenny, or Jenny, how like
No, I
Allison.
think you pronounced it right.
Okay, so she was she's like, affirmative action, yeah, but my parents like sent me to school and da da da, and like it was like merit, like the idea that like white that merit is not white privilege.
They were really bad on race. I think they were even worse actually on sexism, but they were pretty bad on race. The race stuff seems worse because when they did discuss race, it was so off the wall bad. It was
Like-
bad. It was bad on its face, right? But it was few and far between. Whereas the sexist stuff is a constant low hum throughout the show, episode by episode. Like it's so it's hard to say which one is worse. Like the death by 1,000 paper cuts, which I think was the how to handle sexism, or the leave you alone, but every now and then just give you one good whack with the sword. Like that was how they did race. But a Brooklyn lefty told you to watch it to to make fun of it, or because they thought it was good?
No, because they thought it was so good. And then,
Oh.
like the episode that it happened to land on, which like they didn't. This Brooklyn lefty dumbass like didn't realize that it was the one where Allison Janney shits on affirmative action because like everyone's taking things away from her and like she earned her way.
A dark secret about a lot of like the Brooklyn left / podcast left or whatever is a lot of them were liberals like 5 years ago. You know what I mean? Or a year before Bernie.
Yeah, no, and they will be conservative in like 2 years.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, so
they'll be in the suburbs, like they'll be like your neighbor right now, but
yeah,
like.
Or they won't even have to be in the suburbs. They'll have like their first kid or whatever, and then they'll try to turn Brooklyn into a suburb. Like they won't go to suburbs. They'll just suddenly change and all this stuff. But a lot of them still have the like kind of Daily Show, West Wing kind of sensibilities, but just in favor of like Bernie and the squad. Not really. That's a good place to end it on. Like Bernie's gone. And I mean, he's gone from trying to be president anymore. He's probably just going to finish his time out in the Senate. And the future, speaking of representation, this is a tie-in of everything we talked about, and it's a good place to end it. The future of the party is going to be the squad, which is, this potpourri of representation, female, brown.
I have such a problem with AOC. Like, yeah, I have such a problem with AOC, and people never ask me because they think that like we're friends and like we like text each other and shit.
But what would you say is your problem?
I mean, okay, she was on the cover of Vanity Fair. She called Nancy Pelosi Mama Bear. Like, no, she's okay. What has she done? Nothing. But
the way she handled that Capitol thing, I was not crazy about, because I was really kind of feeling for her until I found out she was in the other building. And then I was like, oh, like you were in the other building and you were, you gotta bury that.
I thought that I was gonna die. I know. So I don't know who to hate more, because one, I don't like her. Like, I don't like her going along with this of like you obvious. I mean, there's no way that she doesn't see what's happening, and so yeah, I hate you for going along with this shit. And like two, it's also this fucking culture of individualism that like, you like latch on to like one person, and like, I mean, I don't know how many white liberals have. I don't know if they're probably like performing for me, but they really do mean it. Of like, oh my god, I love AOC.
I mean, I am looking at her with a grain of salt in that I'm not ready to write her off yet, but I am worried that I don't want people to make her into the next Obama, where she could do no wrong, and then they just keep giving her passes and looking for the bright side.
We are there.
That's the part that I'm worried about, because I already see signs that she can kind of waver. She still does some good stuff. Like someone in the chat brought up that she raised $2 million for people freezing in Texas. And I don't think either of us are saying that she's 100%, horrible or anything. I am sure she has been doing some good stuff and will continue to do some good stuff. But every now and then she does something that makes me cringe or makes me think she's going to move to the Pelosi side a little bit more.
Like, I just think it's also very stupid to like, again, pick your one savior. Like, that's not like, we're like, what's it gonna take to fucking learn the point of like, there is no, like people will do it with Oprah, people, like Trump, AOC, like stop it. Stop.
The only lesson they learn is that we picked the wrong Messiah. Not maybe we should stop picking Messiahs. That's the problem.
Exactly. Like,
I think you're trying to shake my hand, so
yes,
I don't know if that's supposed to be a fist bump.
Yeah. No, I mean, just okay.
What was that? We should have reached it.
Yeah, no, like
okay, got you.
Like Trump. Oh, well, like a businessman like that. Okay, And then we see that like a businessman shouldn't be running government, but like when I don't know when was it that like Oprah did something and then all the liberals were like Oprah for president. I'm like, it's the same fucking like again. You're
A
saying
lot
like,
of them weren't even like a businessman shouldn't be running. What they try to say is, this is what I heard more than that. They'd say, he's not that good a businessman. He inherited the money. That he actually filed bankruptcy. So even then, I don't think they even learned the lesson that you shouldn't worship individuals or you shouldn't like worship businessmen. They just try to instead say, oh, well, he's not actually a great businessman, but Oprah is one. She's self-made. She grew up down south or in Chicago and was poor.
and that's that's the thing of like when will we stop like with one person?
Not only do I not think it's gonna stop, I think it's gonna get worse because you're a teacher, so you see young people all the time, and I feel like we're in this middle of this real stan culture of people turn everyone into superheroes, and that's not fair. I put it on young people, but that's not true because we have grown 30 and 40 something year old people turning Elizabeth Warren in a Huffington Post piece into Daenerys from Game of Thrones, or photoshopping Biden's head on the Avengers. The video that came out, we made all those people the Avengers.
No,
What's up? You didn't see this?
no.
Oh my god!
This is okay. You're gonna punish me again. Like
yes, I'm going to punish you again.
I'm like never coming back.
Yeah, you're never gonna come back. You're gonna go to your therapist. You're gonna go to your therapist and say
that dude hates me.
Okay, here we go, and I have to show you this before we go. And you know what? Maybe you'll like it. Maybe you'll enjoy it. Maybe you'll surprise both of us. But have you seen the Avengers Endgame?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, I think you'll be able to get this anyway. This was right after the election. Someone did this.
All of these states that we've won tonight, and then you take a look at the kind of margins that we've won them by. Frankly, we did win this election.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen,
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
They're using real clips from.
On your left.
So he's supposed to be Captain America, and look who's coming to save him. Right? Stacey Abrams, Keisha Bottoms. From Wakanda, says Georgia, and Barack Obama. Why Barack Obama is coming from Georgia, I don't know. They're all black, so I guess that's all that matters, right?
We can't just imagine a better future. We've got to fight for it.
And then
I'm speaking.
Kamala Harris comes
we
in,
want all voting to stop.
and then here comes.
Oh my fucking
Yeah.
god! Yeah, no, I want to die. Yeah.
Pete Buttigieg, here comes. Spider-Man is.
Why? It's red. Ew.
I said Pete Buttigieg, but that was the other guy.
Yeah, like Mayor Pete for real.
Yeah, and it just keeps getting worse as AOC. And all the rest of the squad, the whole squad came. Nancy Pelosi, Michelle Obama. And I'll say, I'm gonna stop it now. You get the point. But I saw the guy who did it, and the guy was not like a kid. He was old enough to know better. So yeah, I shouldn't put it on the kids. That's number one. And number two, I think it's getting worse. That's basically my way of saying.
I mean,
they're not only worshiping individuals, they're not even tethered to reality anymore. Now they're worshiping them as gods and superheroes. They're
like disconnected. Yeah. No,
Harry Potter things, Star Wars. Yeah, so I don't think it's getting better. You're saying when are we going to learn from Obama? I think it's even worse. Because at least people weren't making Obama into a superhero or...
Not on YouTube, but like... Yeah, a lot of people use Obama for like and that's like the really like painful part is that Obama was like a, like a canvas that was like completely
Yeah.
clean, and you can like project whatever you want onto it, and that's like fucking sad to say, but
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you know what? I think I've put you through enough stress. I mean, you look visibly more stressed than when you started. I think maybe I hit you with too much, too little
it's
at the end.
it's just the hair. They're like, but
Yeah. So thank you for coming. Is there any last words or things you want to plug before you go? Anything you want? I don't know if you have a website or anything.
I have Twitter.
Oh yeah, your Twitter is in the description right now.
Oh,
So yeah, people follow Karina on Twitter.
um,
Karina's good people, and Karina, if I didn't scare her off with the horrible cringe I showed her today, she will be on the regular podcast soon to talk about
yeah,
policy.
yeah, no, it's cool to talk to someone.
Yeah, just in
You know,
general, just
like,
in
yeah, no,
COVID times.
like
Yeah.
COVID shit. Yeah, no, it was very fun. What my last thing to say, I would just say, don't watch Your Honor.
Oh, strong words. So another one where the ending was so. That's why I don't like watching those shows because you can't even tell if you're watching a good show or not because you don't have the full plot in any of those shows. You know what I mean?
And like all of the, yeah,
y-
yeah, yeah.
yeah. I mean, like Lost. By the time Lost was done, I realized, oh my God, what was I watching? Oh, somebody else here. You're not alone. You have somebody. We were looking for you before, David. I think you must have shown up late. We
Oh,
were looking for somebody who watched the show. So you're not alone. Someone else said it fell apart.
okay, good. Because
Okay.
yeah, no, 5 episodes. Oh, French, c'est horrible. Wait,
All right, guys. Oh, last thing. Hit the super chat if you enjoyed the stream, or you know, support us at Venmo or Cash App, Champagne Sharks, PayPal, champagnesharks@gmail.com, or patreon.com/Champagne Sharks. And that's basically it. Karina, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and red wine. I'm actually going to try to get some myself. If it's in my mom's liquor cabinet, we'll
yeah,
see.
no, you should have. Yeah, no, you should have
I should
gotten
have brought
that.
my own, right?
No, thank you guys.
All right, take care.